What kind of person demands a pregnant woman prove her identity in her own driveway? The question burned in my mind as I pulled into our quiet cul-de-sac, the summer sun glaring off the asphalt. My wife, Lena, stood there, 8 months pregnant, her face pale and her hands trembling as she clutched her phone. Across from her, HOA Karen, our neighborhood's self-appointed gatekeeper, towered in her garish floral dress, her voice shrill enough to shatter glass. "Show me your ID. You don't belong here," she barked, her meaty finger jabbing the air. Lena, soft-spoken and exhausted, tried to explain she lived here, but HOA wasn't listening. 2 neighbors lingered nearby, their eyes darting nervously, unsure whether to intervene. I slammed the car door and sprinted toward them, my heart pounding. This wasn't just a misunderstanding, it was an assault, and I wasn't going to let it slide. Lena and I had moved to this suburban haven 6 months ago, dreaming of a peaceful place to raise our soon-to-be-born daughter. The neighborhood was picture-perfect: tidy lawns, friendly waves, kids on bikes. But HOA, the HOA president, had other plans. From day one, she'd eyed us with suspicion, her lips pursed like she'd swallowed a lemon. She'd complain about our mailbox color, our slightly overgrown hedge, even the way our car was parked an inch off center. I'd brushed it off as petty control freak nonsense. But this was different. Lena, visibly pregnant and vulnerable, was being harassed in our own driveway. I stepped between them, my voice low but sharp. "Back off, HOA. She's my wife, and this is our home." HOA's eyes narrowed, her chins wobbling as she scoffed. "Prove it." "I don't know her." "Could be anyone." My blood boiled. "Prove it." "In our own damn house." I took Lena inside, her hands cold and her breath uneven. She told me how HOA had stormed over while she was unloading groceries, demanding to see ID because Lena didn't look like she belonged. Lena, born and raised in this country, with her gentle brown eyes and soft curls, didn't fit HOA's narrow idea of a proper resident. It wasn't just about a deed, it was about power, about HOA's need to dominate and degrade. I felt a fire ignite in my chest, a mix of rage and protectiveness. Lena was carrying our child, and this woman had the gall to terrorize her. I grabbed my phone and called our attorney, Mark, a sharp-witted friend who'd handled our home purchase. "Mark," I said, my voice steady despite the fury, "I need you to file charges. Harassment, emotional distress, whatever sticks. Today." He didn't hesitate. "Give me the details. I'll have something drafted by tonight." As I hung up, Lena sat on the couch, her hands cradling her belly. She looked small, fragile, but there was a spark in her eyes I hadn't seen before. "I'm not letting her scare me," she whispered. I told her I'd show her my driver's license, but she wouldn't even look at it. She just kept yelling. That's when I learned the twist that made my stomach churn. HOA had recorded the whole thing on her phone, taunting Lena, saying she'd posted online to expose her. The thought of my pregnant wife's face splashed across some HOA gossip page, labeled as an intruder in her own home, made me sick. But it also gave me an idea. If HOA wanted to play dirty, we'd play smarter. I asked Lena for every detail timestamps, Witnesses. Exact words. She recounted it all, her voice growing steadier with each sentence. The neighbors, Tom and Sarah, had seen everything. They'd be our witnesses. The next morning, I met Mark at his office, a cramped space filled with legal books and coffee mugs. He'd already drafted a complaint, harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and a civil rights violation based on HOA's clear targeting of Lena's appearance. This is solid, Mark said, sliding the papers across his desk. But it's not just about the law. HOA's got influence in that HOA. We need to shake her foundation. I nodded, thinking of the neighbors who'd stood by, silent but watching. They weren't loyal to HOA, they were scared of her. If we could show them she wasn't untouchable, they might speak up. Mark suggested a bold move: file the charges publicly and request a restraining order. It would put HOA on notice and rally the neighborhood to our side. I agreed, but my mind was already racing ahead to the confrontation I knew was coming. That afternoon, HOA was at it again, this time banging on our door with a clipboard, demanding we sign some new HOA rule about resident verification. I opened the door, staring her down. "You're done, HOA," I said, holding up the legal papers Mark had given me. Her eyes widened, but she didn't back down. "You think you can threaten me?" she snapped, stepping closer. "I run this neighborhood." Her voice was loud enough to draw a small crowd. Tom, Sarah, and a few others lingered on their lawns, watching. I didn't flinch. "You harassed my pregnant wife. You recorded her without consent. You're not running anything anymore." The air crackled with tension, her face reddening as she realized I wasn't bluffing. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in her eyes. The standoff in our driveway felt like a scene from a bad movie, but it was all too real. HOA clutched her clipboard like a shield, her voice rising to a screech. "You're making a mistake, young man. I protect this community." Protect? She'd turned our home into a battleground. I held my ground, the legal papers in my hand feeling like a loaded weapon. "You'll hear from our attorney," I said, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Tom, a quiet retiree, shifted uncomfortably, his eyes meeting mine. Sarah, usually timid, stepped forward, her voice shaking but clear. "I saw what happened. HOA. You were out of line." The crowd murmured, and I felt the tide turning. HOA's reign of terror was cracking, and she knew it. The next week was a whirlwind. Mark filed the charges, and the restraining order was granted, barring HOA from contacting us or coming near our property. Word spread fast. Neighbors whispered about it at mailboxes, and a few even knocked on our door to apologize for staying silent. But HOA wasn't done. She posted a rant on the HOA's private forum, calling us troublemakers and claiming Lena was suspicious. She even shared a grainy clip of the confrontation, edited to make Lena look aggressive. The twist hit harder than I expected. Lena saw the post and broke down, sobbing that she felt like a stranger in her own home. It wasn't just the harassment, no, it was the humiliation, the violation of her dignity. I held her, promising we'd fight back. But inside, I was seething. HOA had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. We didn't just fight in court, we fought in the neighborhood. I printed flyers detailing HOA's actions, citing the charges and the restraining order, and slipped them into every mailbox. I included a call to action: come to the next HOA meeting and demand accountability. The response was staggering. Neighbors we'd barely spoken to showed up, some with their own stories of HOA's bullying, fines for minor infractions, threats over petty disputes. Tom shared how HOA had once fined him for a wrong shade of mulch. Sarah admitted she'd been too scared to speak up until now. The meeting turned into a reckoning, with voices rising in a chorus of frustration. HOA sat at the front, her face a mask of defiance, but her hands trembled as she gripped her gavel. When I stood and read the charges aloud, the room went silent. Then someone clapped. Then another. HOA slammed her gavel, shouting for order, but it was too late. Her power was unraveling. The collapse came swiftly. The HOA board, pressured by the outcry, voted to remove HOA as president. She tried to fight it, claiming she was being slandered, but the evidence was undeniable: witness statements, the restraining order, even her own video, which Mark had subpoenaed and shown to be maliciously edited. HOA's reputation crumbled, and with it, her control. Neighbors stopped fearing her. Some even thanked us, saying they felt free for the first time in years. But for Lena and me, the victory was bittersweet. The stress had taken a toll. She had to see her doctor twice for high blood pressure, a risk to her and our baby. I blamed myself for not acting sooner, but Lena squeezed my hand, her eyes fierce. "We stopped her," she said. "That's what matters." In the weeks that followed, our daughter, Lily, was born, a perfect, healthy girl with her mother's eyes. Holding her, I felt a wave of gratitude for Lena's strength, for the neighbors who'd stood with us, for the justice we'd fought for. We hosted a small barbecue, inviting Tom, Sarah, and others who'd supported us. Laughter filled our backyard, a sound I hadn't realized we'd been missing. The neighborhood felt different now, lighter, kinder. HOA moved away a month later. Her house sold to a young family who waved when they saw us. Lena, rocking Lily on our porch, smiled at me, her face glowing with a quiet triumph. We'd turned a nightmare into a new beginning, proving that even the loudest bullies could be silenced when people stand together. The scars of that day lingered, but so did the lesson: home isn't just a place, it's a fight worth winning. End.